Thousands of parents joined together to fight against the way their students are tested in New York State. News 4's Rachel Kingston was at Kleinhans Music Hall for the Summit for Smarter Schools.
Nobody at this summit was suggesting that schools stop testing students, but they were arguing that the way standardized tests are given now is hurting kids both academically and perhaps more importantly, emotionally. And several researchers were on hand to back up that argument with facts.
What do we need to do? Get testing right. What does the state education department need to do? Get testing right.
Thousands of parents in Western New York are calling for change in standardized testing. They don't agree with how New York is using the scores on the newly redesigned ELA and math assessments.
Standardized tests can be used very well as program assessments, but they just don't suit the purpose of measuring individual student growth very well, and they don't serve the purpose of measuring teacher effectiveness very well. So we should use assessment, but use it more wisely, and that's what Smarter Reform is all about.
Unlike the standardized tests of the past, these exams provide no feedback to parents or teachers about the specific skills a student needs to work on.
We only got to know that children were 1, 2, 3, or 4. Do you think that a child labeled a 2 from 3rd grade to 8th grade might have a problem with self-worth, self-confidence? What happens to a child's social, emotional, and intellectual development during a 5-year run of being a 2?
Children are being tested 2 grades above their level. They're being expected to know things they haven't even been taught. And it's just an unfair process, and it creates a lot of anxiety.
That's what opponents are referring to when they talk about the high-stakes nature of these tests. Student scores are used to gauge not only their development, but to measure their teachers' performance and effectiveness.
When you look at the research around standardized testing, the research will tell you that 80% of the change in a child's standardized test score is the result of things that happen outside of the school.
And I think that the testing that needs to be done for diagnostic purposes for kids, for teachers to evaluate how kids are doing, not for the state to evaluate how schools are doing.
All of the issues you just heard about are really just scratching the surface of the problems that opponents have with standardized testing. The Common Core curriculum it's tied to was rolled out in New York before educators even had the chance to become familiar with the new requirements. We have links to more information about testing and the Common Core in this article on WIVB.com. Rachel Kingston, News 4 at 10.